Looking through old New York papers, it is clear that slavery was an integral part of the city. Scholar Edward McManus explains that the entire community had a stake in this trade. Newspapers depended upon it for much of their advertising revenue. To promote the trade, the newspapers provided slaveholders with special services free of charge. Most papers maintained lists of slaves being offered or sought for sale. Others allowed buyers and sellers the free use of their business premises for arranging slave transactions. On January 17, 1809, Alsop advertised in the Evening Post for an escaped slave and polyglot named Thomas Jackson. $10 reward ran away from the subscriber on the 2nd of January from Newtown on Long Island. A Negro man named Thomas Jackson, aged about 30 years, is about 5 feet 8 inches high, is very black, has a down look, speak both Dutch and English. Had on, when he went away, a pair of blue trousers, a short blue coat, and a pair of laced shoes. Whoever will take up said Negro and secure him and leave notice at this office, so that the subscriber may get him again, shall receive the above reward and all reasonable charges paid. All persons are forbid harboring said Negro at their peril. Thomas Alsop. We note that 1. Thomas Jackson ran away on January 2nd. This is the most typical time for people to escape slavery, because almost all enslaved people were given time off at the end of the year for Christmas, and their new work would begin in the new year, and this often meant being sold away from family or friends for a New Year's contract that the enslaved person was bound to obey or run. And 2. The command that all persons are forbid harboring said Negro became a matter of law in New York City. After the passing of the Black Code laws in 1712, hanging out with a friend could be criminal. Thelma Wills Foote, the scholar, writes in her Black Life in Colonial Manhattan that free blacks who were convicted of entertaining Negro slaves or harboring runaway slaves paid a double indemnity to the slave owners. The rules for being out in public at night were still very strict even in the 19th century, particularly for black people. The rules against nighttime excursions were inherited from European laws against people being out at night, with the U.S.-style addition that black people must, for example, carry a lantern light when out at night. A white person was not bound to the same law. Scholar Roger Eckarch writes, in Europe, urban ordinances mandated that citizens, when abroad, bear a lantern, torch, or other light. The main design was not to avert accidents. In Venice, in fact, members of the powerful governing body, the Council of Ten, were exempt from such restrictions. The purpose of these regulations, widespread throughout Europe, was instead to allow authorities to monitor citizens when the need for oversight was greatest. Seen from a short distance, the light from a lantern or flambeau might reveal an individual's clothing and rank, if not their identity. Scholar Gerald Horne writes that in 1713 New York City, settlers sought to bar Negro and Indian slaves above the age of 14 years from going in the streets without a lantern and a lighted candle. Wednesday, July 20, 1859, the Times-Union. Lost his way. Thomas Gleason, a Gowanus blacksmith, came over here to repair one of the bridges at Newtown Creek, and lost his way in the evening when he wanted to return. Officer Gabriel found him on the sidewalk rather oblivious. The old fellow was extremely sweet to Justice Ryder this morning, and promised to shoe all his honor's horses for nothing if he'd send him down to Gowanus. He was allowed to depart, which he did with a profusion of bows and thanks to everybody in the room. On October 20, 1810, Alsop advertised $10 reward for an escaped slave named Jack. The advert reads, $10 reward. Ran away from the subscriber at Newtown, Long Island, on Thursday, the 18th of October. A mulatto boy named Jack, aged 17 years and about 5 feet 5 inches high, face red and pimply, fat nose and thick lips, had on a short cotton cashmere coatee, toe or nankeen trousers with large water boots. Supposed his object is to get to sea. All persons are forbid harboring or employing of him at their peril. Whoever returns said boy shall receive the above reward. Thomas Alsop. Alsop advertises again for Jack on October 27 and 30. On March 21, 23, and 25, 1811, Alsop again advertises for an escaped slave named Dinah. At this time, Alsop had moved to 11 Stone Street near the Battery. $10 reward. Ran away from the subscriber on Monday, the 11th of March, a Negro girl named Dinah, aged about 16 years. She is tall and slim, speaks quick, but when embarrassed, stammers. Had on when she went away a green short gown, blue petticoat, red shawl, and chip hat with red ribbons. Whoever will return said girl to the subscriber shall receive the above reward. All persons are forbid employing or harboring the above described girl at their peril. Thomas Alsop. Over a year later, Alsop is living at 20 South Street, and the wonderful escaped Dinah has been found, and then escaped again, as Alsop advertises for her on April 16, 20, and 21, 1812. $10 reward. Ran away from the subscriber on the morning of the 14th of April, a Negro girl named Dinah, aged about 17 years, tall and slim, had on, when she eloped, a white silk hat trimmed with red ribbons, a brown cloth great coat, and green morocco shoes. Probably she has changed her dress, for she took a bundle of clothes with her. Whoever returns said girl to number 20 South Street shall receive the above reward. All persons are hereby forbid employing or harboring said girl at their peril. Thomas Alsop. Apparently, Dinah is found, brought back, and escaped again, because on July 8, 1812, Alsop, back on Newtown Creek, advertises her as having run away on July 1. This time, Dinah has a whole new outfit, befitting her free dignity. Ran away from the subscriber on the evening of the 1st of July, a Negro girl named Dinah, aged 17 years, tall and slim, had on when she escaped a chip hat, pink frock, and red shawl. She had also a bundle of clothes with her. It is presumed she is in Henry Street, or near it, with her sister Mary Johnson, who is at housekeeping. Whoever returns said girl to the subscriber shall be entitled to the above reward. All persons are forbid harboring or employing said girl at their peril, as the law will be rigorously enforced against them. Thomas Alsop. Scholar Edwin Wilson tells us that the overwhelming majority of New York City slaves were held singly or in pairs. No wonder Dinah needed to get to her sister. How lonely it must have been to be enslaved and alone out on Newtown Creek. In 1814, Alsop appears in the Evening Post, selling a 2-story double house on Brooklyn Heights. In 1825, Alsop shows up again, selling an elegant farm on the Jericho Turnpike, 6 miles from Jamaica. In the same notice, Alsop advertises to sell or trade Illinois Bounty lands, meaning he was definitely a land speculator who bought land to sell it. His father, Richard Alsop, was the same, and his name appears endlessly selling property in the papers. Illinois Bounty lands refers to land stolen from Native people by the U.S. government and given to soldiers from the Illinois Territory who fought in the War of 1812. Paying colonial soldiers with the land they have violently pushed people out of, and whatever else they could steal, was the usual practice at the time and for many centuries of colonial warfare.